Hey everybody, and welcome to the Katie Weaver Show. This is Katie. I am your host, and I'm thrilled to be here. I am bringing on a special guest today, as promised, for Valentine's Day. And so I want to welcome 1-2 Radio producer and my husband, Scott Weaver, to the show. Scott, welcome. You made it. I'm so glad you're here. We've managed to get through a little tech issue this morning, and we've made it. So we're just glad to be here on the show. That's right. Yep, I said no hysterics, no hilarious, no hilarious. That's not even a word. It's just whatever. It's all good. We are going to have a fun show. So Scott, I'm really glad that you to come behind the camera or the producing computer twice, because it's not very often that we get to have you here. So pretty fun. A couple of things to note. We are over in the chat room over at 12radio.com. So want to invite you to join us over there. Easy to get there. Just go to 12radio.com, click on the chat button, and you'll be redirected into the Facebook chat. So that is easy enough. And then we'll be good to go. So I also want to let you know that we are broadcasting this event live from the Facebook chat. So if you want to watch it, you can watch it over there. Yep, there you are. And if you are on a replay or an archive and you still want to watch the live stream, I'll put it up over on my YouTube channel after the show. That is Domestic Mystic on YouTube. I would love to see you guys subscribe over there. I do some metaphysical tutorials and teachings and whatnot. It's kind of fun to be involved in. And actually today we are going to go do something pretty special, I think. Later this afternoon, Christy and I are going out to do a space clearing in a house in the community that has had an inordinate amount of death in it. And we've been asked to come out and do some clearing, see what we can do to straighten things up a little bit. There's been a terrible history in this house of addiction and suicide and some pretty funky energy going on. So we're going out to clear the space this afternoon, and we have received special permission from the family, from the homeowners, to film that. So we are going to film it. We're going to make a little mini documentary. It won't be posted today. It's going to take a little editing work on my part, but it will be posted, and you'll be able to watch that later on. So you can watch for that later this week. But anyway, I think that you guys will enjoy that. I hope that you do. That, you know, there's some good take homes from it about space and clearing space and things like that. So pretty cool. I'd like to say I'm excited about it, except for that I'm sad to hear that this house has had such an incredible amount of tragedy and death. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, you got to turn off the volume on your something. You're echoing in the background. I can hear you.
Oh, I think I got it.
Okay, that's better. I can hear myself.
Is that better? Okay. Perfect. Okay.
That's bad.
That's bad?
Mm-hmm.
It's still bad?
No.
Oh, it's better now.
It's bad when I can hear myself.
Oh. I think that about, no, I don't think that about you. What? Guys, before we dive into our topic, I do want to tell you that Scott might not really know it, but I have partly invited him here so that we can pick his brain about love and relationship issues from a male perspective. And so if you have any questions that you would like Scott to address, or me, throw them up in the chat room. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about. So know that it's Valentine's Day. So
boo!
We promised we weren't going there. All right. It's Valentine's Day. We have been out this morning gifting our kids. It is apparently the year of the giant stuffed animals. And so we bought our daughter, Matea, a centipede that is, easily 6 feet long.
Oh yeah, easily.
Easily. This giant round stuffed centipede. I thought it would be kind of a fun body pillow for her bed, but this morning before she left for school, I asked her to leave her car unlocked. And, she looked at me like I'm crazy because usually they get, killed for leaving their cars unlocked. But she did. And we went over to the school and laid it across the dashboard of her car and stuffed it in there so that when she comes out to go to lunch, she'll find her giant centipede taking up half her car. And then our son, Micah, he always wants food. He's an 18-year-old boy. Go figure. So he got a giant box of chocolates left in his truck. And as soon as we get off the show, we have to head over to the other school with the other kids' gift. And she's getting a penguin that is.
It's an owl.
Oh, it's an owl. Is it an owl? I thought it was a penguin.
Giant purple owl.
Oh, okay. With the giant eyes,
Big eyes.
Yeah, like the big eye buffoons. And it's like as big as her dad. It's huge. So we're going to go drop that off at her school. So that's the Valentine's fun we're having.
Thanks, I'm huge.
Oh, well, in stuffed animal world. You can choose.
You said I couldn't make any jokes today, and now you're, yeah.
Well, you can choose.
You should have just let me throw my joke out there and my opening line, and we'd have been good. You could have made fun of me all day then.
Well.
Oh, well, too late. Okay, Valentine's Day. Why it sucks.
No, stop. A, we agreed we weren't going there. B, I'm not ready for that yet. Okay, so let's cover. Thank you. Let's cover a couple of things. I want to just direct your attention over to Luminous Magazine. So Luminous, of course, is my magazine that I publish every Monday or Tuesday this week if you totally forget to hit publish like I did. And remember, in a panic, early Tuesday morning, I blame Scott. I told him not to let me forget. And guess what?
It's my fault. I completely.
Entirely.
Yep.
It's all good. I know it's all good. So I put a link in the chat room, but if you guys would like to see it, just head over to katie-weaver.com. And right there on the homepage, there is a link for Katie's magazine. Click on that, and then you can just click on the cover of the magazine to be taken to the most current issue. The new cover is gorgeous. Gorgeous. I'm so proud of it. But there's also on the homepage there's a spot on the left-hand side that says subscribe. And if you subscribe, then I will just every Tuesday or every Monday-ish, when it publishes, I will send you a link through my newsletter link so that you can check it out. So that's what's happening. But let's take a quick look at Luminous. There's always a few things that I want to share, from the pages of that. So we'll do that. And again, if you have questions about love and relationships you want us to tackle today from two, I think you're going to find very different perspectives, we'll do that. We're also going to tell our love story.
What? No, that wasn't part of the deal. That was. No.
It was Valentine's Day if I didn't throw in a few surprises.
Not going there. We're going to talk about why Valentine's Day is a scam.
It isn't, and we're not talking about that. Okay, so first of all, in my little note this week, I just wanted to point out, if you guys watch the opening ceremonies to the Olympics, or if you're watching the Olympics at all and seeing the athletes on the podium, you'll see they're all receiving this little white stuffed tiger. So the stuffed tiger is Shimmering, the white tiger. He's a traditional South Korean god of guardianship. So he's the guardian god of South Korea. I think it's so cool that he's represented so largely in the Olympics. It's really fun. So watch for him. And if you're seeing them get those little white tigers, that's what that's about. And then, of course, you'll see the 1-2 weather report. This is the report that I write every week for you guys. So I'm going to give you the rest of the week. We'll skip Monday and Tuesday since we've already been down that road. So starting today, Wednesday, pay attention to your vibes today as your understanding of a situation in your life is unfolding. You will have an opportunity to recognize why other people in your world do the things that they do. This new awareness will make it easier to deal with frustrations with other people. Then Thursday, if there were a day this week that you needed to stay home and do your own thing, this would be it. Be sure that you are finishing what you start. Procrastination is not your friend right now and could very well get in the way of new opportunities. And no, Scott, I did not write that specifically for you. It was more for me, probably. Friday, a new friendship or relationship is emerging. This is great news and a good opportunity for you to spend time with someone that can challenge your beliefs and help you grow. Say yes to invites and opportunities that take you out of your comfort zone. You will discover that it is actually not all that scary out there. Saturday, eat your Wheaties and get a good night's sleep because your strength will be needed today. You will likely encounter friends or family members who need to lean on you. Do your best to be a good listener and support without judgment. Remember that everyone is on their own path. Sunday, you will likely wake up feeling anxious to clear out the clutter in your life. You may feel compelled to do some deep cleaning and reorganizing in your home. You may also feel you need to detox your body and spirit. This would be a great day for some energy work. And that's the 1-2 weather report for the rest of the week. Now you can find a daily postcard of the 1-2 weather for the day posted over on my Instagram, and that's Domestic Mystic on Instagram. And I would love it if you followed me there, and then you'll get the daily report. And then if we're scrolling through the magazine, the next thing you'll find is my February reading special. This is my video reading 3-month sneak peek. I love this video reading. It is an opportunity to take a look at what's coming for the next 3 months. Sometimes you guys will find that it is more, we can do it 2 ways. You can ask about a specific avenue or area in your life. Otherwise, you can most certainly just go from a place of just letting Spirit answer the question. Either way is totally fine with me. So those are the things in the weather or in the magazine that I wanted to bring your attention to. There are 7 fabulous articles from all of my contributors. I hope that you guys take a minute to take a look at those. There's a lot of great guidance in there this week, and I'm going to leave it there so that we
Thank you. I'm getting bored here.
Oh, you would. So that we can jump into our topic. So
I've already read it twice. So
well, you're required.
No, I'm only required to look at it once. I've been over it twice, so I'm bored now.
Cindy really wants to hear your joke.
No, we can't now. It's
I've ruined everything. I'm sorry, Cindy.
It was good. In the beginning, it would have been great, but it's too late. You've seen this ugly mug now. So.
I'm such a killjoy, total cock blocker. I'm sorry.
I had a great comment about a plastic surgeon and all that, but it's just too late.
Oh, next time, if there is a next time.
Yeah, probably won't.
I'm waiting to see how well you behave yourself. All right. Well, I wanted to briefly tell our story. Scott and I, the first time I laid eyes on Scott, I was 13 years old. We were at a 4th of July parade, and I saw the cutest boy I have ever seen. He had dark hair, dark skin. He was wearing a red tank top, and he just was beautiful. And I didn't know who he was. And my friend, Marty, did. Turned out he was a year younger than me in school. So she, doing what 13-year-olds do, she called him for me. And he looked at my picture in the yearbook, and he wasn't interested. You want to tell him why?
No.
You don't? I will.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. He wasn't interested because in our community, in our schools, we classified each other like all kids pretty much do. But I was more of a skater kid. I had my hair in a long bob. I looked more like what our school called a waver, but I considered myself to be more of a hippie. And he was a cowboy. And he wasn't interested because I didn't look like who he thought he would date. That's all. So that ended right there. I moved on. He moved on. Whatever. We never actually even spoke. unbeknownst to me, his grandmother lived right next door to me, right next to my childhood home. I grew up next door to his grandma. He was in and out of that house lots of times. Never saw each other, never crossed paths. Fast forward another year or so, a little more than a year. So now I'm 14 and in 10th grade. He is 14 actually and in ninth grade. And we met in marching band. Scott played the saxophone, I played the clarinet, and we were really gravitated to each other quickly. It didn't take very long after the school year started that we were dating. And then we dated all the way through high school. Now, we did break up a couple of times and see other people a little bit, like kids do, and probably like anybody should that starts dating that young. But we always just tended to gravitate back together. And we ended up getting married when we were 19. You know, I can remember when we got married how many people told us that we were too young and that we were crazy
We
on
were.
our,
We
yeah.
were.
We were. We didn't think so at the time. Now I think if my 19-year-old got married, I'd have a heart attack. But, you know, it made sense at the time. It made sense for us. In fact, on our honeymoon, we went to California and we stayed a couple of nights with Scott's aunt. And she gave us a huge spiel and lecture about how this was never going to work because childhood marriages never work. And this was never going to be a long-term thing. So I guess we were both just damn determined to prove her wrong because 3 babies, college, jobs, life crises, illness, death of parents, and a few moves, and a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, and a lot of joy in our lives later. We've now been married nearly 21 years. It's hard to imagine. I still think that in my heart, I just graduated from high school in a lot of ways. But that's our background. That's our story. I wouldn't say that it's always been easy. I would definitely say that it's always been worth it. We're very different. We have very different attitudes. We have very different love languages. We have very different parenting styles. Those are all things that can be incredible challenges in relationships. There are things that can end relationships, as you know, essentially. I wouldn't say that we are perfect in any way, but I will say that I think, well, that's true. Right. Okay. Gotcha. I will say, though, that we have, I believe, amassed a pretty good deal of wisdom and knowledge about helping to make relationships work long term. So that's why we thought it might be fun on Valentine's Day to not really talk about Valentine's Day, but talk about love and relationships and answer some questions and go that route.
That's not what I signed on for.
I know.
That's what you've changed the rules to here.
I know.
I was going to talk all about how I hate the word twin flame and soulmate, and
I know.
that's what we were going to talk about.
Okay, sir, I will give you the floor.
No.
No, please. I know you have a strong opinion on the word soulmate and twin flame because you've watched it destroy people and break people's hearts so many times. So have it. It's okay.
Nope. Keep moving
you are
on.
welcome to it.
No, because then it would just sound like a rant. If
Well,
we were having a constructive conversation about it, then I could rant about it. It would feel okay.
All right. Well, then let's have a constructive conversation about it.
Okay.
Do you believe that there is such a thing as a twin flame? Do you believe that there is only one person on the planet that's meant for any specific person?
No.
Okay. Because
there's 8 billion people in the world. That's like winning the lottery. It happens, very rarely. It's just...
Do you think it's possible once in a rare while that is the case?
Maybe occasionally, but I think that it's more likely that you have soulmates, and I want to call them mates as in like an Australian word of a friend. Let's call them soul friends that come into your and out of your life all the time.
Okay.
That influence you and guide you in where you want to go and also teach you where you don't want to go. And that is what a true soulmate is. That
Yeah.
you can have tons of soulmates. A teacher could be a soulmate. A best friend could be a soulmate. The mailman could be your soulmate for, whatever.
I've heard that happens.
Yeah, sure. Or
Okay.
the milkman, right?
Why not?
Um, but I think that there's a lot of people that can come in and out of your life that can influence you, that can be your soulmate.
Okay.
I mean, but I think that having the idea that you're going to find one soulmate who's the person you live with in your little princess castle and is going to be your Prince Charming for the rest of your life, you're
Uh-huh.
full of it.
Yeah.
You're full of it. If you believe that, all you're going to set yourself up for is a lifetime of hurt and and unrest. You're not going to be happy.
Yeah. I'll agree with that entirely. I think too that sometimes when people are waiting for their soul mate, they miss out on opportunities to connect with wonderful people that maybe really are that thing for them in this life, but they have either set themselves up or we've kind of set themselves up to believe that there's some, magic fantasy waiting. It's unfair. I just think it's unfair. It sets people up, I think, sometimes for failure. So I'll give you
Well,
that.
and I
But
like what Jan just said, that,
yeah,
a soulmate means someone you've traveled with in other lives.
yeah, I'll give you that all day
I
long.
mean, those are people that help guide us. I mean, those people come into our lives in this life, in past lives, in future lives. They come together um, to guide us, to
Sure.
help us down the path that we were meant to go, or to try and correct us when we're off the path that we are on.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I also really appreciate your comment that soulmates can be not a romantic partner, and that frequently they are. I think sometimes your soulmates are your children, that you've had agreements with these souls to bring them onto the planet and to to teach each other certain things. And that is the true definition to me of a soulmate. So I agree
Right.
with you very much, Jan and Scott. Kai said, and your marriage partner can be your mate, as in your friend. Absolutely, and they should be. We were having this conversation last night about how either one of us, sometimes we just need to rant to each other for a minute or blow off some steam about a parenting frustration or some other life frustration, and we don't necessarily need the other one of us to dive in and fix that thing. We just need to be able to bitch, to just blow off some steam for a minute. And sometimes we both have to remember that that doesn't mean that you have to jump in and fix it. You just need to be able to listen. And I know we're both guilty of that sometimes, but it's good to have that in your mate, I think.
Well, I mean, that's just a tangent that you can get off onto in
Oh yeah.
parenting. I mean,
Oh.
you believe that you can parent our middle daughter better than I can, which is probably true, but I can
I don't
also
think better.
parent
I just think different.
I can parent our youngest daughter better than you can.
Okay. Well, that may be true. That may
Or
be true.
differently than you. And so those relationships are stronger that way. Do I think that my middle child is a soulmate? She's come in to challenge me in the way that I do things? Definitely.
Hmm.
Just because she's my daughter doesn't mean that she isn't someone who's here to guide me, you know,
Certainly.
in the way that you have to be you know, I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, and that's right. That's part of it. It's not rainbows and butterflies all the time. It is being challenged in areas of patience and of acceptance and, things that, maybe you don't want to have to grow in right now that perhaps a soulmate's going to push you into.
Right. Well, and so I disagree that the word should exist. I just think that people should get away from thinking that it means that you're going to find that one true love in your life and that there's only that many. I believe in your lifetime you better have thousands of soulmates.
Yeah.
If you don't have thousands of soulmates in your life by the time you have lived your life, then you missed out on something.
Yeah. Okay.
You missed out on learning. You missed out on understanding. You missed out on life.
On your own growth. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When we got married, my dad gave you a piece of advice, and we've kind of laughed about it over the years and decided that there's a lot of truth to it. What was it?
If you win, you lose.
If you win, you lose. Yeah. My mom was a very strong red type A personality who typically got her way. And it's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, but that is the way their relationship worked for the most part. They didn't tangle very much, but typically if there was something she was going to do, she was going to do it. Um, and he was really good about that. I'm sure it wasn't always that way when they first got together. They, of course, had their own ideas and opinions about things, but his best advice was if you win, you lose. And what he really meant by that, in my opinion, I'll tell you what I think it meant, and then Scott, if you want to counter that, please do. But my belief is that what he meant by that was that to choose your battles wisely, that it isn't really worth it to necessarily have to be right or to have it your way in all things, that essentially you will come out the loser long term if that's the way you operate in a relationship.
I think you're right. For the most part, I think of it as a game. When you play football or softball, and I will go back to those two because those are the passions in this house, softball and football. When you step on the field, you step out there to win. When you step on the field of a relationship, it's not about winning. It's about going out and not keeping score and just playing and having a good time. And that's how the difference is. If you go out to play the relationship game as a winner loser, you're both going to lose. Both partners, both people are going to lose. There can never be a winner. And so that's the case. And I think that what I watched with your parents is that your parents, and we've kind of tried to mimic them a little bit, I think subconsciously, and that is that your dad had his passions. He had fishing and hunting and his outdoor activities, and he was allowed to do those. On Mondays when his day was off and your mom was at work, he was allowed to go fishing. There was never he should have been home mowing the lawn, or he should have been home doing something else on his day off. That was his time to do whatever he wanted. And your mom might not have agreed with the hunting and the fishing, but she knew those were his passions,
Well, she certainly didn't want to do them.
Right.
But she didn't want to do them.
But she didn't stop him. And so they kind of, even though they were a tree, they had many branches off of that tree. Yeah. So at home together, the home they built was the trunk. But they each kind of had their own branch. And, some of the twigs and twine, or some of the branches weave together, but some of them went off in different directions, and they were able to allow those to grow out without going out and going, hey, you can't do that, cut that off, right. Or oh, you can't do those things because we're not together, cut it off. Yeah. They had lives outside of each other. But they also had things that grew together, their family and their kids and their activities together and their pets and their lives in the house. And, but then they also had those branches that went out, those things that they like to do individually. Yeah. And I think that's the key. If you can look at a relationship like a tree, and together you're a trunk, but you've also got to have branches, and some of those branches will work together and some of them won't. And you're not always going to have the same styles, You might have, one person might be the outgoing, outspoken, wants to talk to everybody, wants to be in everybody's life. But you find that the other partner is the very quiet. They're not on Valentine's Day, they're not going to be the one running out and taking you to a fancy dinner, or they're not going to be um, bringing a bunch of flowers to work to you, because that's not what they would want.
Right.
And so they show their love in the way they want it to be shown.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that, that Katie is one that if she was at school, she would want flowers brought to school so that she could walk around with them, so that she could show all her friends that she got flowers, and to do that. And me, I would be like, I don't want anybody to see me walking around here with flowers or with anything. And so,
That's true. It's a big difference in personalities.
But you have to learn that. I mean, I had to learn, because I would have said, oh, well, I'm not taking her anything because that's not what she would want. But that's not true. That's not what I would want.
Right.
And so she would want that. So I have to learn that, yes, she wants that. But that's taken us 21 years.
Sure. Well, but I think that's a brilliant point in any relationship, is considering what you want versus what the other person wants, and making sure that you really communicate those things. We've gotten really good with holidays. And actually, this was something else that my parents modeled pretty well to us. My mom was really good at, kind of planting a seed about what she would want for a holiday. But we've gotten really good at kind of going, hey, if you need something for my birthday, this is something I've been thinking about. Or we've made great use of the Amazon wish list the last few years. That's brilliant. Throw some things in there you want. I will love to jump in there and buy those, because honestly, I see this all the time with clients, that someone ends up really hurt and disappointed because they didn't receive something that they were hoping for, because they, I think, set themselves up maybe for a little failure in expecting their partner to read their mind a little. And that's something that I think you can avoid, setting your partner up for failure, setting yourself up for failure, by getting over the idea that they should always just know what you need or what you want. It's incredibly unfair to do that, really, to yourself, but to them as well. If there's something you really want, then send them a hint. But also, as the partner,
or don't even send them a hint. Tell them.
Right.
Don't hint.
Right.
Don't drop. Oh, here's an ad for this. Isn't this cool? No, say, hey, here's an ad for this. I would really like to have this for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'd really like to have this for my birthday.
And my ring finger is a size 6 or whatever. Yeah. Be clear with your expectations. You'll be so much happier, and your partner will be so much happier if you do.
Don't expect something from someone else unless you tell them what you want. Now, if Katie tells me that she wants a new coffee maker for Christmas, and I have already bought her something else, I might save that as an idea for her birthday or for something else. So don't be like, oh, well, I asked for this my Christmas, and you didn't get it.
Sure. But be very generous with information. Don't withhold stuff like that. If you do, you're going to end up disappointed. Your partner will end up disappointed because they'll end up, dragging something home that maybe you didn't want. It is a delicate balance, I think, sometimes. But honestly, even as we're saying this, what I'm really hearing us say is that real, honest, open communication is at the core, right? Being able to just say the words,
Well, and if you don't feel comfortable saying those words, then you have to figure out.
Then make your sister say it.
Well, then you got to figure out why it is that you aren't comfortable enough with this person to say it.
That's true.
I mean,
that's true.
If you can't say it to them because you're worried about hurting their feelings, or you're worried about making them mad or something like that, then you don't know this person well enough to be at that point of doing that. Because you should know how to communicate with them without making them mad. Or if you know it's going to make them mad, then you make them mad. But you also know how to smooth it over, you know?
Well, is it okay? Is it okay in a relationship sometimes to say something that you know is going to upset or offend?
Sure.
I think so
I
too.
I I think you have to. I think you
Hmm.
have to know, but you have to push those buttons occasionally. You have to push those buttons to see if that's the right floor on the elevator to get off on,
Okay.
right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like an elevator. You get in the elevator, you got to push a button. And when the door opens, is that the floor you wanted to get off on? Or did you really blow past where you wanted to go and you got to get back in and push a different button and go back to the floor where it was supposed to be?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, the key is if you push the button to the roof and you get to the roof and you're like, oh, well, so I know pushing the button to the roof is going to get me to the most extreme, then I'm going to push the roof button every time I'm mad. Then you're just being a manipulative
Yeah.
asshole.
Well, you know, there's something to be said, I think, to some healthy disagreements in relationships. I think if there is no disagreement ever happening, that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's always on the same page or the same frequency. I think that that more likely means that someone, or maybe more than one someone, are really bottling up their true feelings and aren't being authentic. And the problem with that is that at some point, oh, that's going to boil over. You know, that's going to boil over in a volcano of anger. It isn't worth it. It's worth having the little disagreements day to day. And if everybody can leave their ego out of it and just allow each other to have those opinions, to have those attitudes, to have that downtime when they need it, to have those hobbies, you'll have much more peace in your relationship. But I totally agree with that there has to be a little discord sometimes in relationships. There has to be opportunities for people to say what they need to say.
Well,
uh,
if you're with a partner and you say, every time you say something, they say, oh, you're right, you're right, you're right. Even when you know blatantly that you're wrong and always all they ever say is, oh, you're right, you're right, you're right. They are not going to be happy in that relationship. If you can't look at them and say,
yeah.
hey, you know what? If you don't agree with me, then tell me. But don't sit here and play me that everything's okay and then you leave and you're fuming in your car and you're mad and you're yelling and screaming. I mean,
Hmm.
we've seen it. I mean, I've seen relationships where there was so much tension going on and the woman involved in this relationship, she was always told she was wrong. The husband always had to win. He thought it
Hmm.
was a game, that he always had to win. He always had to win. And he and everything he had to win. And one day a card game where he has to win blows everything up out of proportion and the whole marriage is over,
Yeah.
and it ends over a card game, but it
But it
ends over
didn't.
a card game, but it started
Yeah.
because at home he always had to win.
Yeah.
In conversations he always had to win. He couldn't
Yeah.
be wrong ever. And
Hmm.
if he was wrong, he wouldn't admit it. He wouldn't
Right.
say, "You're right, I'm wrong."
No, it couldn't
You're,
happen.
and
And
so it escalated.
his pride essentially ended what could have been and should have been a great marriage, but couldn't. But he was married to a Leo who boiled and boiled and boiled under her skin and didn't say it, just boiled until she was so damn mad that she ended the relationship. And he never saw it coming because he wasn't obviously giving himself an opportunity to self reflect. He had obviously way too much pride and ego in his way, but he didn't have a clue how angry she was inside because she just allowed it to boil in her for too long. Yeah, it's a great case study, I think, and two people that we care about deeply. And it was very sad to see their relationship come to a close, but it was also quite obvious why. Maybe on both. Back just a minute, Scott, to something that you said about allowing the other of each other to have things that they do apart from each other and how important that is in relationships, and just comment that I feel like that is one of the biggest keys. This is something that I think puts a wedge in early and young relationships more than most things. Part of it, I think, is trust and insecurity. That sometimes we have a hard time letting go of the strings because we're a little afraid. Maybe we haven't built that trust yet, but the only way to build it is to allow that autonomy in some ways. But I also think that we all, in relationships, it is so important to give each other some breathing room. You and I both work from home. And so we are together like 24/7, unless one of us goes to do something with one of the kids or I step out to see a local client. Obviously we have things we do apart from each other, but we're home together a lot and we work in pretty close space. And I know we both sometimes just have to take a deep breath and step back because you just need a minute, and we spend more time together, I think, than most couples do. I think once upon a time when we were younger, we might have literally killed each other. But now we're pretty comfortable in this space of ours. But I appreciate what you said. I do appreciate what you said about allowing everyone to have their space and their own hobbies and not have to drag each other along kicking and screaming.
Right. I mean, it is. And I think as a young couple, it's really hard because the young couple, they think they need to be together all the time, and I think social media is a big one with that, is that, say, a boyfriend gets on and sees his girlfriend hanging out with her friends at the bar, and he gets really uncomfortable and really uneasy, and his fears start to come to the forefront that, oh, if she's out at the bar or if she's out with her friends, then then there's a chance that she's cheating on me or that, all those things. But at the end of the night, if you live together, at the end of the night, does she come home?
Yeah.
Because that's the key, is that you have to have separate, you have to have separate lives. You still have to have some friends in your life.
And they don't have to be friends with you.
Right. And social media has made it that way so that people see what everybody's doing, and then you're going like, well, so John Doe and his girlfriend, they're always together. Well, that's what social media wants you to see, and that's what they want to show you on social media, but that's not true, She goes to work, he goes to work. He goes out with his friends every once in a while, but, he isn't big into social media and he doesn't post, but she does, and the only time she ever posts is when they're together, or he only posts when he thinks about it, and that's when they're together. Or they want to show you their perfect little family or their perfect little lives, Everybody wants to show you what's perfect in their life. Nobody's going to show you, hey, guess what? I'm turning on Facebook Live and we're going to have this fight right here on Facebook Live so everybody can see that we're not a perfect family, or we're
going to show you our filthy house or our screwed up bank account. Yeah.
Yeah. And so all you're going to see is the true that,
Yeah.
Video games do the same thing. I see couples all the time that maybe he likes to play video games and he comes home from work, and that's how he unwinds for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been at work all day and she comes home too, and she goes, well, why don't you want to spend any time with me? And it's not necessarily he doesn't want to spend any time with her. He's found a way to unwind. When I used to come home from the farm and I didn't work at home, or when I worked anywhere I worked, a lot of times I would come home and go to the garage because my mind needs to unwind everything that's gone on for the day, and working in the garage or working with my hands, working with my mind, that is what released all those things. And I know it's been hard for you over the years to go, why does he come home and goes right to the garage? It's like he's avoiding me all the time.
Well, no, because I'm always welcome in the garage. But,
Right.
There's a
It's not
there's a
like it's
difference
law.
there, but right. But okay, so but I think you bring up so two things I want to challenge you on a little bit or ask you. The first is I want to revisit the bar scenario here for just a minute, which I totally agree with you on. Except for that, do you think it's fair to have some limit there? Do you think it's fair for you to say, you know what, I don't care if you're at the bar with your friends, but it really bothers me when this thing happens or this person, is making these comments or is involved. Is it fair to say that sometimes the other partner's maybe their concern should be validated?
I think that if there's a concern, that back to open communication, that you should be able to voice it. And if the other
Uh-huh.
partner can't take that voice, then you've got issues. But okay,
Right.
say that same scenario. He goes to her and says, "Hey, I don't like it when you're posting pictures of you hanging out at the bar with all these people,
Mm-hmm.
or saying these things." And she goes to him, "Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I went to the bar with so and so, and then these people showed up. I'm
Sure.
sorry. What was I to do? Get up and leave?" And
Right.
if he says yes, then he's just insecure.
Sure. Sure.
You know.
I think there's a fine line there between respect, and respecting your partner's feelings, really, and your partner respecting you. And when if that was the scenario we're playing out, and she were to say, I didn't know those people were going to be there, then hopefully he would say, okay, it's no big deal. It kind of bothered me to see that, right? I mean, that's where I think. But perhaps in the future she should have messaged him or called him and said, hey, FYI, I'm out with the girls. These people came. I know you're kind of uncomfortable with them. I just wanted to let you know that they're here so that you don't feel like something weird's happening. Maybe that would have been respectful for her. You know, I think there's a respect line there. Uh, there's a couple of questions I wanted to get to.
Okay, we only have
Oh,
three
oh, wait.
minutes, so we'll have to run through them fast.
We will, but one more comment quickly. Just talking about the video game scenario, because I hear this from clients all the time. I feel like this is a great scenario to be able to discuss limits and balance. Okay, so he comes home from work and he needs an hour. He says, this is how I unwind. I think that's fair, and I would hope that she or he, I mean, we could flip the script on this, obviously. This doesn't need to be he nor she, but I think that's fair to be able to say, hey, when I come home from work, I need a few minutes to unwind. But I also feel like both parties should respect some kind of a time frame, you know?
Well, but here's the thing. Maybe instead of worrying about time, maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing to go sit on the couch with him and say, "Hey, teach me how to play." Or,
Sure,
you don't have to be an expert at it. Just ask to learn, ask to
sure.
play.
Okay, there's
And
that.
I mean, there's other ways.
To insert yourself. But my point is, if she's coming home or he's coming home and they're immediately going straight to their game console, and I use this example because I've seen it with clients so many times. I've seen this tear relationships asunder many times. And what happens is that they come home, this person, it's not that they're getting on their video games or their Facebook or their whatever for a little while. It's till 3 in the morning. I'm going to completely ignore you, the family, for the rest of the night. That's where I feel like boundaries are pushed, where balance is disrespected, and where I think that couples can do a better job at respecting each other's needs. That's my only point in that. So very
Okay, I have a
quickly,
comment. Kat is
yeah,
just like me. Go find yourself a cancer partner, or I have so many things like Kat, me and you could have a conversation forever because we are so much alike. Um,
yep,
so
yep.
but
So
you'll
very
find
quickly,
someone.
let's hit
Yeah.
Kylie's question really fast.
Yes, I've
She
seen Kylie
said,
too.
yep, she said, I love my boyfriend so much, but I feel like I'm putting in a lot of effort into our relationship that he is putting little in. Maybe it's that he doesn't show his emotions, but I want to be on the same page. I'm going to agree with you that he doesn't tend to show emotion the way you do. I feel like there is a layer or a level here of you giving much more than you're receiving, because you are trying to model for him what you need, my recommendation is that you read love languages together and get on the same page about what you need to be affirmed in a relationship versus what he needs, so that you can both amp up the communication. That is my recommendation. Scott, you have something different? You have 30 seconds.
Nope. You have 12 seconds, and no, I think you're good.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you guys all for being here. I want to tell you happy Valentine's Day. I would like to ask you to stay tuned. There's lots more great radio to come. You'll find me back here tomorrow with the Psychic Sisters, and I'll be over at one2listen.com for most of the rest of the day to help you in any way I can. And we're on sale for the holiday. You're listening to 1-2 Radio, where we're changing the way you listen to the world.
Bye-bye.